Yes, thanks, Roy. And well, I think anticipation is great. This is going to be one race, I should think. So looking back to last year, of course, Ian Locker managed to take that slingshot Honda home some 10 seconds ahead of Guy Martin, with Ryan Farquhar then in third place, and of course Jason Griffiths in fourth. Neither of those here today, but Martin Finnegan is, and Darran Lindsay. Just looking back at the records, of course, the 250 Balound Cup wasn't awarded last year. There were no 250 entries in this race, and perhaps that's the reason, of course, why the 250 lap and race records have stood so long. It's really not a challenge for them in here. It's only the 600, and in the main, let's face it, this is the 1000cc event. There will be one or two 600s in there, but not with any hope of success. One or two of them, there are, of course, class prizes for them, but it really is all about the men at the front. Ian Locker weaving as he does, warming up those tyres. Not the first to arrive at the grid, because that's number 45 getting in place first, Martin Finnegan, but Locker comes round now and takes his position on the front row. Guy Martin just coming through now into his second place on that grid. Martin Finnegan, as we say, already there on row 2. Alongside him is Tim Poole, and 22, of course, Nigel Beattie in there. Just waiting for this man, number 86, of course, coming through now, Cameron Donald, to take his place on the front row. Just looking back, big H is there, Paul Hunt, number 6 on row 3, with number 19, James McBride, the red flag, held still. We look to the organisers to check. We're told the grid is ready. We'll be underway in seconds. Engage the gear. Watch the lights. Oh, wow, the change. Well, we've got a problem here. Well, that'll be interesting to tell you, because number 12 sat there, Tim Poole, and said, what's going on? Have the lights changed? But they're gone. So I don't quite know what happened there. Certainly the front part of the grid went. And, well, the race is underway, that's for sure. Whether the lights went too quickly or they didn't see them or whatever, I don't know. But certainly there was some confusion on the grid as this race started. And I think the race has been red flagged. The race has been red flagged because the start was jumped. The grid will have to reform, I'm sure. I thought there was a problem there, because number 12, Tim Poole, sat there and they all passed him. And he said, what's going on? The start was jumped, no question about that. So they're not under race mode, but they will have to make their way back, of course, around the circuit for the grid to reform. Well, that's something I don't recall having seen before. Quite interesting, certainly here. And we've had fantastic starts the whole of the meeting so far, but clearly somebody tried to take a march and took the others with them, I suspect. That's what will have happened. Certainly there was nothing wrong with the organisation here. The engage gear sign was clearly shown. They were turned around to watch the lights, and somebody must have made a move. And of course, it's like these when you watch them on television with the gun starts at the athletics and so on. Somebody goes and all the rest go. And that's certainly what happened, with the exception of one or two, notably Tim Poole, just sat in the middle as they all disappeared around him. So they'll be on the way round for another circuit now, another sighting lap, and the grid will get reformed. I'll give you information as to what happens with that as soon as I get it. But let's just go out and have a word with Roy and Jeff out there at Cross Fourways. An unusual position, but they'll be coming to you again soon. Roy, what about that?
Yeah, it is unusual. I mean, we're just talking to Jeff. He can't recall anything. There was some incident in the Manx Grand Prix once, Jeff, when the fellow was indicating to the starter how you do it, and he dropped the flag and the two first on the grid shot off. Was that right?
Yeah, Phil Hogg it was. Jeff Duke was the starter. He's the pack coming round, by the way, on the red flags here to reform. Hope they'll be all right for petrol for 12 laps, because now there'll be 14 laps altogether. They should be okay, though. But yes, it was Phil Hogg, and Jeff Duke was being shown how to start the race. And he put, you do it like this, you lift the flag up and then you put it down, and Phil Hogg was away. And I was at Balaf, and I remember thinking, why aren't the rest starting? But of course he was about half a minute ahead early of the start of the race, and the times had to be compensated. I think it was the same year he went over the hedge at Crunknamona. But yes, I can remember a race here stopping too early. Castrol Championship race, the flag was put out too early by a lap, but certainly can't remember a start where there was a difficulty like this. I think Tim Poole must count himself exceedingly lucky he wasn't rammed.
Certainly sounds like that, as though that's the case there, Morris, and well described by you down there.
Well, I think you're right. I'm just looking at it now. It looks as though there may well be a reduction. I hear the car going past you now. That does make some noise. That
certainly does.
We're going to have a reduced event. I think we're going to go off a lap. I think we're going to be a 9-lap event. Probably fuel being the issue, as Jeff quite rightly pointed out there, because they will eventually have done 11 laps, 2 sighting laps and 9 laps. So this event will now be over 9 laps. Bit of a pity in a way, but and nonetheless 9 laps is not too serious. But 10 laps would have been a cracker. 9 laps I'm sure still will be. But they're coming back now to reform. But I don't recall that. I've been doing it down here for, well, I used to lap record alongside Peter Neal for many years before taking over from him, and it must be 20 years ago. Goodness me. But the boys are back, as I say. Quite who was responsible or what, I don't know, and I'm not sure whether it matters. They're back, all safe, and the grid will be reformed. I'm sure the organisers will have a word with one or two to find exactly what went wrong there. But you're quite right. Tim Poole was left in a bit of a dangerous position sat there as they all disappeared around him. And he's a bit like a rabbit in the headlights, wondering what the hell to do. But he certainly sat tight. He didn't move, and all the front of the grid certainly did. It caught me unawares as well. The situation is, you see, the grid forms under a red flag. Once the grid is formed and the officials are happy that everybody's okay, the red flag is removed, and then we have one board. On one side of the board it says engage gear. That is then switched around and they watch the lights. The lights are above on the scorer's box. And when they turn to green, you go. And I suspect that somebody, and I really wouldn't know who, as soon as the board turned round, thought that was going to be the sign. It's up now, engage gear, watch lights. And it nearly went again. And that was Guy Martin, I can tell you that. So competitive, is it? And I have a feeling that might be what happened on the previous occasion. Somebody made a move, and I don't know who it was the first time. I know who it was then, certainly. And that he stopped it in the end. But it's so important to get a good start as they get away to Ballachagan, because, of course, there's a traffic jam there as they all get there. And I know it's important to get away, but certainly, and I think we're over 9 laps. That has been confirmed. We have a race now over 9 laps. The field is now safely away this time, so the race is on. But yes, it was somebody jumped the start and took the rest of the pack, or most of the rest of the pack, with them. But certainly an interesting event here. We've certainly had excitement. But it won't affect the race. It'll still be the quickest man who wins, and certainly we're going to have a very fine race on our hands. But so important is it to Guy Martin. He's so hyped up, having won earlier today. He was obviously delighted with that, anxious to get away, ahead probably of, well, Ian Locker and his compatriot over the other side, Cameron Donald, who were either side of Guy Martin. It was Guy from the middle, but he pulled it back. We got away, and we've got some racing prospect, that's for sure. So it's going to be quick. Just looked at the lap and race records. We've had a look at those. 111, not out of the question, certainly in these fine conditions here. Over 9 laps. Ian Locker won it last year. He also holds the lap record. What will it be today? Let's go to Cross Fourways and find out what's happening there.
An awful lot of cylinders coming towards us, and very, very quickly with Ian Locker leads from Guy Martin, with Cameron Donald third, Martin Finnegan fourth, Nigel Beattie fifth. It's then number 12 just went right there. Darran Lindsay's in amongst it. 16 John Burrows, 43 Stephen Oates, 24 Victor Gilmore's there as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 altogether. 53, 23 and 74. 53 Scott Wilson, and the last to go through there, 74 Alan Charmley, as quickly as that as they went through. But Ian Locker leads. Over to you, Morris.
Well, thanks, Roy. Excitement, certainly indeed. Perfect conditions here. We look towards Castletown Bridge, that we get a glimpse of them there over the bridge. They get to Castletown Corner, and then the charge is on down the bypass here. And well, we've had a glimpse of the first ones there. Will it still be Ian Locker? Will Guy Martin still be in the shout? But there's 1, 2, 3. Here we go. It's Locker. Martin from Donald. Well, inevitably so, I suppose. Ian Locker, number 1, leads from Guy Martin, number 2, by half a second as they stream through here now. I'm just looking at this. Martin Finnegan's through as third, but I'm pretty confident that 86 Cameron Donald was safely through there. I had it 1, 2 and 86, but 86 Cameron Donald is in that third place. But it's half a second the advantage for Locker over Martin. Cameron Donald 1.5 seconds back on Guy Martin. and 0.6 of a second ahead of Martin Finnegan, with Nigel Beattie in 5th and Tim Poole in 6th. Connor Cummins is 7th. That was quick, but that was a marshal. James McBride in 8th, followed by Darran Lindsay, Paul Hunt, Paul Cranston, John Burrows, Davy Morgan, Mark Buckley, Stephen Oates, Victor Gilmore, Paul Duckett, Dwyer Agnew, Peter Hounsell, William Dunlop and Alan Jackson. They're 21 who've completed the first lap. An opening lap for Ian Locker of 2:26.6 from a standing start, and a half a second advantage over Guy Martin, with Cameron Donald in 3rd. Well, they were the first 3 on the line. They're the first 3 at the moment, and the sequence is as they started: Locker, Martin, Donald. So nobody really got an advantage there other than the man in pole position, because he leads. Bidding for 3 in a row. Of course, he won this event last year by 10 seconds. I don't think his margin is going to be quite that big this time, because they're certainly chasing him. They should be pounding their way towards cross four-ways any moment now, but let's make sure we don't miss them. Let's go up to Roy.
Here they come for the second time. Locker still in the lead, with Martin and Donald right behind in the top 3, making a break. It's Finnegan in 4th position, then Beattie, then Cummins, then Poole. That's 2 3s, and now another trio, and they're led there by number 19. That's James McBride. As the rest of the field stream through, it's Locker narrowly in the lead from Martin and Donald, the same 3 who of course occupied the big race on Tuesday night. The rest of the field stringing out just a little bit, but bunching in groups. There's Johnny Barton going through, but the lead on the second lap of the 9 is Ian Locker's marginally from Martin, and in 3rd position it's the Aussie Donald. Morris.
Yes, thanks, Jeff. Looking at it, yes, Ian Locker, Martin, Donald, they've been seen at the crossing the bridge, and they should be at Castletown Corner, powering their way towards it. Should still be Locker, but what will the advantage be? By Joe, it's close. 1:86, nothing in it at all. 4th place, Finnegan, 45, Beattie, and then 15, Connor Cummins. 2 together, Paul Hunt alongside well, James McBride, I think it was. So it's Ian Locker who continues to lead by 0.1 of a second, 0.19 in fact over Guy Martin. Only 0.6 of a second separate those first 3. The second lap for Ian Locker, 2:19.954, 109.322. But the quickest lap, that of Cameron Donald, 2:18.462, 110.50. I think Dwyer Agnew, number 34, has been reported to stopped at Ballabeg, but the quickest lap so far from Cameron Donald, who's currently in 3rd place at 110.5, 2:18.462. So he was, well, 1.5 seconds quicker than Ian Locker on that lap, but he's behind him by 0.6 of a second, but less than a second separate the first 3 on lap 1. Martin Finnegan is in 4th, Nigel Beattie is in 5th. Let's go back to cross four-ways.
We're waiting now just to see as Ian Locker maintaining that lead. Guy Martin in there as well, and Cameron Donald the man to watch. Who's it going to be as they approach us here at cross four-ways? We're just straining out to the right-hand side to see the approach, and as we can hear the machines coming into view, thundering down past Balown Farm and on hard under the brakes. And it's Guy Martin who leads from Ian Locker, with Cameron Donald 3rd, and they absolutely get it cranked over to the limit here, and Guy Martin pulling away a bit, and there's Martin Finnegan and Nigel Beattie, Connor Cummins and Tim Poole, number 12 through as well. Bill Smith Motors, well, he went there. There's Paul Hunt, and 19 being James McBride. A different approach from number 14, Paul Cranston, but certainly streaming through here. Absolutely fantastic. You couldn't put a blanket over the first 3, but it's still Guy Martin from Ian Locker, with Cameron Donald 3rd as they hammer towards you there down there at the bypass, Morris.
Well, Roy, fantastic racing, it really is. It has been all day, and well, there's nothing between them again. It really has been very close. This is the most exciting meeting I can remember down here. Right, who's it going to be this time? It's Martin from Locker, from Donald, and it's as quick as that. Well, 0.2 of a second, it's given here Martin the lead, but it really is almost irrelevant. 45, Finnegan, Beattie, and 15, Connor Cummins. Tim Poole also safely through here. Then Big H, 6:19 and 55, Darran Lindsay, of course, on the 600 there. There's 14 through, Paul Cranston. 71, Davy Morgan and John Burrows also complete their 3rd lap. So 3rd lap, 1/3 distance, of course, of this 9-lap race now. And it's Guy Martin who, for the moment, has the edge. His quickest lap on lap 3, 110.592, the quickest lap so far. But all the first 3 lapping in excess of 110 miles an hour. The advantage with Martin by 0.2 of a second, but only 1 second still separate the first three. 7 seconds further back on that is Martin Finnegan. He's followed a second further back on that Nigel Beattie. Yet another second gap then to Connor Cummins, who's in 6th. They're followed by Tim Poole, Paul Hunt, who's moved up a slot, McBride, Lindsay, Cranston, Morgan, Burrows, Buckley, Oates, Gilmore, Duckett, Dunlop, Jackson, Van Hils and Peter Hounsell. Let's go out to cross four ways.
Yes, here's the cavalry charge coming again, and who will it be? Will it be Martin, or will it be Locker, or could it be Donald? All three still well in contention as they come here for the 4th time of the 9. Hear them hammering down towards us now on the brakes, right through the gearbox to bottom gear. Back wheel core in the end, it's Martin, Locker and Donald having a look on the inside, but decides against it, and those three have made the break. Finnegan will probably be next in 4th position, and then in 5th it's number 22, or was BTS. He's Finnegan all alone in 4th. Beattie now and Poole thinking about the inside but didn't do it, and then Cummins just watching on at a respectful distance. So it's still number 2 in the lead, Guy Martin from Ian Locker, but this was the position the other night, and Locker outfoxed them at the end. He's the rest coming through now. John Burrows there going well, the back of those 3 riders, and in the lead then it's number 2, Guy Martin, 2nd number 1, Ian Locker, 3rd number 86, Cameron Donald, 4th number 45, Martin Finnegan, 5th number 22, Nigel Beattie, and 6th number 12, Tim Poole. Morris.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And well, Guy Martin's here now. He's pulled out a little bit of an advantage now. 1:86 is Cameron Donald, who's got Locker in his sights, and Guy Martin's extended his lead to 0.7 of a second. It might not seem a lot, but in the context of the racing we've had here, it's a margin. 45 Finnegan expected. Beattie, but right behind Beattie's Tim Poole, so he's under some pressure. Connor Cummins is 7th. Big 8. Is it 8th? A retirement coming up. 55.19, it's James McBride indicating his intention to pull into the paddock, so a retirement. I think that's the first one we certainly see past here. But Guy Martin, well, an advantage of 0.7 of a second, it really not that much, I suppose. Still his quickest lap on lap 4 for Guy Martin, 110.597. Cameron Donald also his quickest lap on lap 4, but really they're fractions of a second only, 110.5. Ian Locker, a relatively slow lap there, 110.2. But it's all about strategy and tactics with those first 3, I'm sure. It's jockeying for position while they maintain this over the next 5 laps. 4 laps completed as far as we're concerned, but it'll be half distance now as they're around the back of the course. But Guy Martin, a growing time of 9 minutes 24.457, an advantage of 0.789 over Ian Locker with 0.4 back on that. Cameron Donald, it's time to go across 4 ways.
Yes, they can't be far away. The crowd's hearing the sound before we do with the earphones on. We can't quite pick it up, but they are here now. And it's Cameron Donald into 2nd. He's got past Locker, but Guy Martin still leads. Back end switches there on Cameron Donald's machine. He lifts the front wheel and wheelies off towards Church Bends. So Cameron Donald pulled out quite a bit of an advantage over Ian Locker, and here's Martin Finnegan, number 45, followed by number 12, Tim Poole, and then 22, Nigel Beattie. And they're going quick. 15, Connor Cummins through on the Yamaha, and they accelerate away. So absolutely tremendous there. But Cameron Donald up to 2nd. There's Paul Hunt through as well. Number 55, Darran Lindsay, he's through now, but dropping a bit of time. 14, Paul Cranston, John Burrows and Davy Morgan. Davy Morgan in the middle of there. John Burrows holding on to that 10th place. Number 71, I think, was the other one through, but Morris to be with you.
Oh, they will. They're here now. It's number 2, 86 of 1. Well, Cameron Donald, I said at the beginning I thought he needed another race or 2 before he would be up there, but oh, not true. He could well make it this time. Newcomer, learning the course very, very quickly, and he's in 2nd place. There's Martin Finnegan in 4th, followed by Tim Poole and Nigel Beattie. So Guy Martin, but his advantage is only 0.4 of a second over Cameron Donald, and the lap there of Cameron Donald, 2:17.642. 111.158. It's got me reaching for my records. The lap record set last year by Ian Locker was 2:16.9, so just 0.7 of a second Cameron Donald off Locker's lap record of last year. Well, he may well have to break that to get past 8 today. More than one in the shake-up, 3 of them. Martin, Donald and Locker separated by less than a second, all lapping in excess of 110. It doesn't get much better than this. Finnegan's in 4th, Tim Poole in 5th, Nigel Beattie's 6th, Connor Cummins is 7th, then it's Paul Hunt, Darran Lindsay, Paul Cranston, Davy Morgan, John Burrows, Mark Buckley, Stephen Oates, Victor Gilmore, Alan Jackson, William Dunlop, Patrick Van Hills, Paul Duckett still in there in 19th, Peter Hounsell and Dave Madsden Migdal. But a fantastic race so far, 5 laps completed, just 4 to go. Let's go out across 4 ways again.
Perfect timing, here they come, and it's Martin back in the lead, Donald second and Locker third. They're still together. Any of those three could take this Southern 100 Championship, and you can't help but feel that Locker is stalking them. But it's back in front, Guy Martin, with Donald in second position and Locker, and you can tell by the noise, I presume, that they've pulled away from the 4th man. That's Martin Finnegan. Up to 5th last time was Poole. He still is there, having overtaken Nige Beattie. There's Beattie going through in 6th position now. A trio of Manx riders, because there's Cummins in 7th position, and the next should be Big H number 6 in 8th position overall. Here he is turning into the corner a little bit earlier on the Kringle machine, and it accelerates away. But this time at cross 4 ways, as the pack sorts itself out on lap 6, it's back in the lead, Guy Martin. Morris.
Yes, thanks, Jeff. And well, they're down to, oh, look at it! Wow, the two together. Whoa, it's Donald, it's Donald. Well, that's not shown on mine, but I'm pretty sure when they shuffle this computer about, that'll be Cameron Donald who crossed the line here. Certainly, in my opinion, number 86 crossed the line first here. At the moment, it's showing Martin, Lockett and Donald, but not for me. Donald certainly led here on the completion of lap 6. Well, they're streaming through now. There's Martin Finnegan, Tim Poole. I mean, it's the computer's gone mad here because it's pushing Cameron Donald down to 6th place. I can tell you that Cameron Donald led here at the completion of lap 6, ahead of number 2 Guy Martin, with Ian Lockett in 3rd. There's Big H just going through there now. So quick, I think they missed the time, quite honestly. That's what I believe. 14:71. Well, Paul Cranston, Davy Morgan, John Burrows, but the first man through